If Vampire Survivors, the film The Running Man, and a Commodore 64 decided to have a sexy threesome and then have a baby, I think BloodDome99 would be said baby. What a pitch. But I think it's true, because this is Vampire Survivors for a Commodore 64 lens with ridiculous, over-the-top, cheesy dialogue, silly lines that feel like they've been stolen from an 80s Schwarzenegger action movie. And I bloody love it. Simple as that. It does do some interesting things for the Survivors-like genre, though, and trades off some risk versus reward, because you aren't just trying to survive specific time limits or certain amount of waves, for example. Instead, what you're doing is trying to accrue up to $300,000 to pay for your own healthcare. Oh yes, we're in that kind of dystopian future. And the premise around this is that as you shoot all of and kill all of your enemies that are around you, you collect their XP, which also acts as money. But then when you level up, you then spend your money on upgrades, and you get to choose from one of three, or just say, nope, I don't want a perk, and then you take some cash in. And this brings in the risk versus reward, because when you hit $300,000, it triggers an end boss that will then come at you whilst you've still got all of the general hordes and enemies coming at you too. But if you trigger it too early by not upgrading yourself well enough, the boss is going to absolutely beat you to smithereens, and it becomes very overwhelming very quickly. However, if you spend much longer upgrading your character and taking time to get to 300,000, the surrounding horde then becomes much more voluminous, but also you've got much harder to kill enemies on top of the boss as well. And so you might be more powered up, but there's just now more going on for you to have to deal with. And so finding the balance of the sweet spot in the middle is really where you're trying to aim for BloodDome99. Don't go too fast because you'll be underpowered, and don't stay too long because then you'll become overwhelmed. But it's entirely up to the player to decide how that goes. BloodDome99 is very much a choose your own poison style of Survivors-like. So you can decide whether you want to stay twin stick shootery or whether you want to go auto aim. You can also turn on turbo aim, which is kind of where you press once to shoot and then kind of let go and let it go nuts until you press again to stop shooting, for example. I thought that was a good touch. And in the main release for 1.0, there are 3 different arenas with different bosses added into it, but you need to clear the previous one to unlock the next one. And then when you do that, you then need to gain enough cash through multiple runs to unlock the Champion's Belt or the VIP Pass to then unlock the next arena and keep going. And your cash that you earn from multiple runs then also makes the game more interesting too, because in the vending machine, you'll then unlock various different, or buy various different perks that you've unlocked through your gameplay. So some of these will be totally new weapons that will then get dropped into the mix. It could be that, because it took a while for me to unlock any kind of health regeneration when you stop shooting or when you stand still. Some of it could be something like a hedgehog that then shoots out random spikes at enemies around you as like a little protective shield or bubble. Some of these could be actual background music or just some cosmetics that are going on, or they could be dedicated modes such as a compendium of all of the perks and weapons and their upgrade trees and paths, so that you could learn a little bit more about what you're going to select and improve over time so that you can make better tactical decisions. All of this is making BloodDome99 infinitely playable, and when you're going onto the online leaderboards, you're looking at how fast you can kill the boss in each arena, and then it will give you custom leaderboards depending on the customizations you make. From the second world onwards, or the second map onwards, you can put in weight training, and what this means is that you can put in various modifiers to make the game easier or harder. You can swap out some of your base weapons so that you can start with a specific weapon if you want to as well. And these all have their own dedicated leaderboards and variant styles so that you're at least going up against people that have been put in the same settings as you, rather than it being a let me find what's the most OP and then try and go for the top score in that that kind of crowds out everyone. It's really well thought out from that perspective. My only criticism that I'd have of BloodDome99 is that because there's an awful lot of purple and red and like orange with this kind of retro Commodore 64 glow to it, sometimes I didn't see enemies because I was just being sprayed with blood everywhere. And because it's purple on red, it does all kind of merge in together a little bit. And I found that occasionally it just felt a little bit like, oh, I didn't even realise something was there. And that was a bit of a shame. I think it's just a bit of a wah wah suck it type thing because it's all around the stylization of the graphics and the color palettes, and you do get more used to it the more that you play, but occasionally it still kind of pops up and makes me go ooh in the meantime when something surprises me. That said, I absolutely love BloodDome99's risk versus reward and how long should I stay before I trigger the boss, and yeah, it's a really interesting spin on things, and people will go, oh, is that really the USP for this game? Yes, it is, but it adds a layer of strategy that you don't really have with a lot of other Vampire Survivor-like games that are out there at the moment. And so it carves its own path, it's got its own unique aesthetic and style, the soundtrack is excellent too, and it's just great fun to play. So yeah, if you want to go shooting it up like an 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie, BloodDome99 should be right up your street. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.